Dr. Nicola Ann Brown-Pinnock, Chief Technical Director, Information Division, Ministry of Education, Skills, Youth and Information. Mr. Damian Cox, Senior Director, Access to Information Unit. Mr. Richard Lumsden, Director, Economic Reform Monitoring Unit, Ministry of Finance and the Public Service. Mrs. Yolanda Clark-Dennis, Senior Secretary, Information Division, Ministry of Education, Skills, Youth and Information. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Let's quickly test our Jamaicanness. Who feels it? And when you know better? Good. That is the spirit of Right to Know Week. I'm Casita Irving, your Master of Ceremonies, for the opening of today's program. And on behalf of the Information Division, Access to Information Unit of the Ministry of Education, Skills, Youth and Information, it is my pleasure to officially welcome you to the launch of Right to Know Week 2025. This week, Jamaica joins with the rest of the world to affirm something powerful. The people have the right to know. This year's theme is ensuring access to environmental information in the digital age. And what a time for this conversation. Climate change, pollution, and sustainability affects us all, from the farmer in St. Elizabeth, to the fisherman in Port Royal, to the student in Kingston. Everyone deserves the facts. So together we can protect our island and play our part in securing the planet. Because as we know, there is no planet. Oh, we don't know the saying? There's no planet B. So we have nowhere else to go. We can't take a plane and fly to Mars. This is the only planet we have. Now, let me share why I'm especially happy to be here this morning. Firstly, I'm a tree hugger. So I believe fundamentally that we are stewards of the environment. We're placed here to take care of the environment. And that was further cemented during my time at the Forestry Department, where I saw firsthand the value of protecting our trees and our forests and the natural environment. And two, I live in Portmore. I sweat from memory. It's so hot. So this theme actually hit pretty close to home. Issues like climate change, environmental management, and access to environmental information are not abstract. They are very real. They are personal, and they affect the way that we live every single day. This is not just another observance. It is a celebration of empowerment through knowledge. When citizens have access to information, democracy grows stronger. Accountability becomes real, and every Jamaican can make better decisions about their life, their community, and their future. As the slogan for ATI unit says, you can read on the screen, right to know, power to change. Information is power, knowledge is power. So today, as we launch Right to Know Week 2025, let us commit to openness, to truth, and to a culture of transparency. Let us share knowledge and empower every citizen, because when Jamaica knows, Jamaica grows. So ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the official launch of Right to Know Week 2025. And at this time, I'm going to invite Mrs. Yolanda Clark-Dennis to do the opening prayer.
Let us all stand, please. Eternal Father, bless our land. Guard us with a mighty hand. Lord, we come before you this morning. We want to acknowledge your presence, mighty God, as we come together as one people, mighty God. We are celebrating Right to Know Week Conference 2025, and God has to do with information, access to information. We thank you for the camaraderie, the networking, mighty God, as you give your people insight, foresight, and insight, mighty God, that they will advance as you call them. Mighty God, we thank you that today is a blessed and a productive day, that we can continue in this digital age of information, mighty God, and let your people know that whatever they speak and do, the legacy will be left. So, mighty God, we declare this conference blessed, and we give you all glory and honor in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. A powerful prayer. Felt almost like I was at a church service. Really beautiful. And if you look around the room, you're seeing some tabletop displays. We have several agencies and entities here. The Ministry of Health and Wellness. We have Jamaica Environmental Trust. We have Jamaicans for Justice. I'm seeing PBCJ with their tabletop display. We have the Ministry of Justice and Legal and Constitutional Affairs. We have the National Environment and Planning Agency and the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation. So throughout the day, you are invited to visit the different displays, interact with the ATI officers, and get to know more about how they are ensuring access to information so that Jamaicans can make better decisions for their lives and their future. At this time, we will be having the opening remarks, by Dr. Nicola Ann Brown-Pinnock. Dr. Nicola Ann Brown-Pinnock is a Justice of the Peace for the Parish of Kingston, a distinguished academic, legal professional, and business strategist with over 16 years of experience spanning higher education, public policy, and organizational leadership. She holds dual doctoral degrees, a Doctor of Education, and a doctorate in International Business and Strategic Management, demonstrating her deep commitment to academic excellence and global business leadership. Through her research and leadership, Dr. Brown-Pinnock continues to bridge the gap between theory and practice, empowering stakeholders across sectors to respond to evolving needs of 21st century learners. She is widely recognized for her strategic insight, collaborative leadership style, and unwavering dedication to lifelong learning, educational transformation, and human development. She currently serves as the Chief Technical Director for the Information Division in the Ministry of Education, Skills, Youth, and Information, where she plays a key role in developing the information sector, promoting access to information across multiple platforms, and ensuring the preservation of Jamaica's archival history and heritage. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together and make welcome Dr. Brown-Pinnock.
Mr. Damian Cox, Senior Director, Access to Information Unit, distinguished panelists and presenters, conference attendees, members of the media, members of the public joining us online, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I am actually very excited to be here this morning with you to bring remarks at the beginning of the Access to Information Unit's Right to Know Week 2025 conference under the theme, Ensuring Access to Environmental Information in the Digital Age. I think that's the educational aspect of things coming out there. Universal access to information is critical for transparent, participatory, and accountable governance. Since its proclamation by UNESCO in 2015, the International Day for Universal Access to Information, September 28, has underscored access to information as a fundamental human right, essential for the realization of the Sustainable Development Goals. According to the UNESCO report, by the end of 2024, over 139 countries and territories had adopted laws guaranteeing access to information, making significant progress in promoting open societies. However, challenges remain in ensuring effective implementation, legal robustness, and public awareness, especially amidst rapid digital transformation and growing ecological threats. We have a solid foundation in the Access to Information Act, and we will continue to build on this foundation to ensure public access to information, promote good governance and accountability, and increase public participation in national decision-making. These are the objectives of our legislation. The theme for International Day for Universal Access to Information 2025 and this Right to Know Week conference, ensuring access to environmental information in the digital age, focuses on the importance of timely, comprehensive, and cross-border access to environmental information in an increasingly digital world acutely impacted by the effects of climate change. Environmental data encompassing climate change, pollution, biodiversity, and disaster risk transcends national borders, necessitating collaborative, transparent, and innovative global sharing of information. Access to information is particularly important for populations at risk of environmental disaster due to climate change. The theme also highlights how digital technologies and open data platforms can enhance public access, foster transparency, and empower citizens and stakeholders to participate meaningfully in environmental governance and sustainable development. The key message emerging from the theme and the scope of Right to Know Week 2025, which begins with this conference and concludes on the International Day for Universal Access to Information, are: 1, timely environmental information empowers all stakeholders to act on climate change. 2, SDG 16.10.2 drives global access to information laws, policies, and other regulatory mechanisms for transparency. 3, informed citizens are essential to building a greener, more equitable, and sustainable planet, as they play a critical role in holding policymakers accountable for their commitments to internationally agreed frameworks. Everyone deserves access to environmental information. We must promote access to information rights and good access to information practices. We must highlight the role of access to information laws and their implementation to build back strong institutions for the public good and sustainable development. We must promote transparency and accountability and increase public participation in national decision-making through the provision of public access to information and services. And finally, we must strengthen stakeholders' dialogue on access to environmental information with a particular focus on information accessibility in the context of emerging technologies, including artificial intelligence. I look forward to the presentations and panel discussions scheduled for today. My best wishes to all stakeholders gathered here, both in person and online, for a successful Right to Know Week 2025 conference. Let us actively engage as stakeholders to discuss, learn, and share best practices on improving access to information, particularly environmental information, as well as promoting access to justice, human rights, good governance, and accountability. We must embrace the power of technology to transform how the public accesses the information they need in more innovative, inclusive, and impactful ways. By sharing our ideas and experiences, we can work together to solve the challenges of today and face the opportunities of tomorrow with confidence and collective purpose. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Brown-Pinnock. Right to know? Okay, I don't think we know it. Let's go again. Right to know? So it is safe to say then that the things that we're not seeing happening in our society is because people don't know? You know, oftentimes we're putting out information and it's going over the heads of people. They're not understanding it, and especially in the environmental field where, you know, it's a science. If you're not in that area understanding about degradation, climate change, and all of those things, the layman will not understand. So as holders of information, and because people have the right to know, we have to ensure that the information is communicated in such a way that they understand to take the action that is needed. So we have more work to do? We have a lot of work to do. So at this time, we'll be having the keynote address by Mr. Damian Cox, Senior Director, Access to Information Unit. One woman, sorry. An attorney at law with over 19 years of experience within the government of Jamaica, Mr. Cox is the Senior Director of the Access to Information Unit, Information Division of the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information. Prior to September 2020, under the portfolio of the Office of the Prime Minister. He is responsible for the oversight of all activities associated with the ATI unit. Prior to being appointed director of the ATI unit in 2009, he was the legal officer in the Information Division, Office of the Prime Minister. Throughout his career in the public service, he has provided legal and policy advice to senior government professionals, including ministers, permanent secretaries, and senior managers, and participated in the policy formulation, development, and implementation processes in various roles on committees and working groups. This has included information and broadcast sector policy, access to information and access to environmental information, and access to justice issues, data and information sharing policy, open data, records and information management, and related technology and privacy issues. Mr. Cox also served as a member of the group of experts coordinated by the Organization of American States, Department of International Law, to draft and finalize the AOS Inter-American Model Law on Access to Information and Implementation Guideline that was adopted by the OAS General Assembly in June 2010. Ladies and gentlemen, very knowledgeable. Please welcome Mr. Damian Cox.
Good morning, everyone. Chief Technical Director, Information Division, Dr. Nicola Ann Brown-Pinnock, distinguished panelists, presenters, conference attendees, members of the media, members of the public joining us online, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I am pleased that we are together celebrating Right to Know Week 2025 and our Access to Information Unit Right to Know Week conference today under the theme ensuring access to environmental information in the digital age, and that this comes just 2 days after World International Coastal Cleanup Day on Saturday. And the week will be bookended by the AI for All Artificial Intelligence conference that occurs annually. This conference and this week will touch on areas that are critical for access to information, both in terms of access to environmental information, which is critical, and also the technology issues that we face in terms of the digital age and providing access for all our citizens and all members of the public. I will focus a little bit on environmental education, which I think is so critical for us all. The Access to Information Unit, and I know a number of our partners in this room, work very hard to improve environmental awareness among our young people. And that is critical for the future for us and for this planet. The Ministry of Education, Skills, Youth, and Information has many educational partnerships. Wearing another hat as the chair for the JCHM, I know NEPA goes into schools, and I also know that Jamaica Environmental Trust has a robust program and partnerships with schools as well. Our children must be educated to build and maintain a sustainable future for Jamaica. In fact, the UN General Assembly reaffirmed that education for sustainable development is an integral element of the Sustainable Development Goals on quality education and a key enabler of all the other Sustainable Development Goals. And that resolution was passed in 2017. Education for sustainable development is widely recognized as an integral element of Agenda 2030, and in particular, Sustainable Development Goal 4, SDG 4, a key enabler of all the other SDGs. ESD empowers learners with knowledge, skills, values, and attitudes to take informed decisions and make responsible actions for environmental integrity, economic viability, and a just society, empowering people of all genders for present and future generations, while respecting cultural diversity. ESD is a lifelong learning process and an integral part of quality education that enhances cognitive, social, and emotional and behavioral dimensions of learning. It is holistic and transformational and encompasses learning content and outcomes, pedagogy, and learning environment itself. ESD is recognized as an enabler and for transforming societies. Government, education policymakers, academics, and education and environmental stakeholders must continue to be committed to education for sustainable development. The work of the Access to Information Unit is about education. Public education is a core plank of what we do. And we are focused on access to information generally, but also access to environmental information in particular, access to justice, and access to legal information that will empower citizens. Right to know is power, and it's about ensuring that our citizens are empowered for now, in the present, and also for the future. And as we think about intergenerational and sustainable solutions for us, we must think about how we can bridge the gap for all demographics as we work together to build the Jamaica that we want to see. While the digital revolution presents promising avenues for addressing these issues through innovative tools, big data analytics, for example, open data, and open government initiatives, that Mr. Lumsden will speak to shortly. We also face new challenges regarding data privacy, misinformation, digital divides that must carefully be navigated. We have the capacity to do it together. We must face these challenges with the spirit and determination to ensure that all our people are empowered through access to quality, inclusive, and equitable education and information that benefits us all. Our young people will be the innovators of the future. Our very success will rely upon them. We must continue to build the foundation that they can take forward on our behalf as they become the leaders of tomorrow. I am happy again that we're here today to mark the beginning of Right to Know Week together as stakeholders from civil society, government, ministries, departments, and agencies, and other stakeholders from the public. So I want us to have a very good day today and also a very good Right to Know Week where we embrace our right to know, we use our right to know, and that we ensure that collectively we work to build and strengthen the foundations of our democracy. And access to information is a core foundation plank of our democracy. So as we move forward, transforming together, building together, learning from each other, and sharing best practices today, it is my pleasure to declare this conference officially open and ready to go as we are ready to learn together and build together. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Damian Cox, Senior Director, Access to Information Unit. When was the Access to Information Act passed in Jamaica? 2002. And particularly for those who are watching online, the ATI Act grants citizens a legal right to access official government documents, fostering transparency, accountability, and public participation in decision making. To request information, you must submit a written application to the relevant public body detailing the document that you seek or the information that you seek. So while most official documents are accessible, certain categories are exempt, such as matters of national security, personal privacy, and internal government deliberative processes. So exercise your right. It is your right, your fundamental right. So if you want to know, and I'm going to pick on the forestry department because I used to work there, yes? So if you want to know, if you hear about deforestation in a forest reserve or forest management area, you can write for your forest too, your Jamaica, so write to forestry department and find out what is happening. So we're going to move right along now. And I'm going to invite Mr. Richard Lumsden, Director, Economic Reform Monitoring Unit, Ministry of Finance and the Public Service. One moment. Mr. Richard Lumsden is an economist and planner who has held management positions at the Planning Institute of Jamaica, PIOJ, the Office of the Prime Minister, and the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service. He's a former corporate planner at JAMPRO and has many years' experience in business consulting. As Director of the Economic Reform Monitoring Unit in the Ministry of Finance, he was responsible for monitoring the macro-fiscal measures in the successfully concluded precautionary standby arrangement between the Government of Jamaica and the IMF from 2016 to 2019. He was also responsible for monitoring the program targets and resilience and sustainability arrangements with the IMF from 2023 to 2024. Since September 2020, he has been involved in providing technical support for the implementation of the Open Government Partnership in Jamaica. Mr. Lumsden is a former Jamaica scholar, a graduate with a Bachelor's of Arts degree in Economics and Political Science from Yale University, USA, and an MBA in Finance from the Manchester Business School in the UK. He has one daughter, And his hobbies include tennis, swimming, and reading. Please welcome Mr. Richard Lumsden.
Master of Ceremonies, Casita Irving. Chief Technical Director, Dr. Nicola Ann Brown-Pinnock. Mr. Damian Cox, Senior Director, ATI Unit. Distinguished guests, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Firstly, I wish to thank the Ministry of Education, Skills, Youth and Information for their invitation to make this presentation this morning on the Open Government Partnership, or OGP, you'll be hearing that acronym, OGP process in Jamaica. The Ministry of Education has been integrally involved in the OGP process in Jamaica from the very beginning of the first OGP action planning cycle in 2021, and we are grateful for their continued commitment and participation in that process right up to the present day. And the Ministry of Finance has been invited in presentations and panel discussions on the OGP process in previous ATI Right to Know weeks in the past, and we are happy to continue that involvement this year. So this morning, my presentation will be focused on providing a concise overview of the Open Government Partnership process and its history in Jamaica, as there will be some in the audience who here and online that have some knowledge of the OGP and some that don't. And also, I will try to make the connection between the OGP and the goals of the ATI Right to Know Week and the specific theme this year of the importance of access to environmental information. So let us begin at the beginning, and thanks to the PBCJ team that will be helping to take us through the various presentations today. So as you can see on screen, the Open Government Partnership is an international multi-stakeholder platform which is intended to make governments around the world more accountable, inclusive, and responsive to citizens. It was founded in 2011 by 8 governments and 9 civil society leaders, actually on the sidelines of a UN General Assembly meeting in that year. Now, it says it now involves 78 national and 76 local governments. That number has increased since this slide was made, and 3,000 plus civil society organizations. It's very important to note that civil society organizations around the world, in their own right, can be members of the OGP, Open Government Partnership. It really is designed and operated and in practice as a partnership between government and civil society. And together they have developed over 4,500 commitments. And in fact, it's governed by a steering committee which has equal numbers of representatives from government and from those civil society organizations. The OGP process is guided by the values of access to information. So there's a connection right there. The very first value of the OGP process around the world is to increase access to information, civic participation, public accountability, and the application of technology and innovation for transparency and accountability. Next slide. What the requirements for a country to become a member of the OGP are to endorse a high-level open government declaration, deliver a national action plan developed with public consultation with civil society, with time-bound commitments that advance those values that we saw on the previous slide, and also to commit to independent reporting on the implementation of the National Action Plan, including through the OGP's own independent reporting mechanism. So Jamaica, next slide. Jamaica committed to the process in December 2016 when the government submitted a letter of intent signed by the Prime Minister committing to joining the OGP. There were two cabinet decisions in June 2018 and February 2020 that approved the preparation of our first National Action Plan, and very importantly, the establishment of a multi-stakeholder forum, which is in keeping with the OGP standards. Our first National Action Plan was completed and submitted in December 2021, revised and submitted in June 2022. The first OGP National Action Plan had 7 commitments in the areas of anti-corruption, open data, access to information, justice and human rights, environment, climate change, and youth. Now, I spoke about the multi-stakeholder forum. This is more or less like a steering committee for the OGP process in Jamaica. Provides oversight and guidance to the co-creation process for the national action plans. It has equal numbers of representatives from government and civil society organizations, civil society membership here in Jamaica, with a government co-chair and a civil society co-chair, first established in August 2021. The government members were nominated by selected ministries based on invitation from the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service, which is the lead ministry for the OGP in Jamaica. And the civil society representatives, again, very importantly, were appointed based on a self-selection process developed, agreed, and executed by civil society organizations and stakeholders. We did 2 progress reports on the implementation of the first National Action Plan, presented to stakeholders in consultation meetings in April 2023 and December 2023. The second progress report indicated that a majority of the activities were delayed under the first action planning cycle based on the progress reporting, with a common theme of constraints in human resources and funding impacting their timely implementation. This is not only common to Jamaica. This is not only specific to Jamaica, but it's quite a common occurrence in the national action plans around the world. Now, since then, we've moved into a second action planning cycle. Cabinet approved the development of a second OGP National Action Plan for Jamaica by way of a cabinet decision in November 2023. And the recommendation from Cabinet and the submission made to Cabinet recommended that this second National Action Plan should largely be based on continuing the activities that were not completed under the first action plan, which was just a sensible sort of approach. And so the second National Action Plan for 2024 to 2026 continues to include 7 commitments, same areas: anti-corruption, open data, access to information, justice and human rights, environment, climate change, and youth. Sorry, no, this slide is a little crowded, so I apologize for that. It's just trying to indicate that there were some delays in the development of the second action plan and its approval. So the first delay occurred last year in February, when we had the action plan developed and required to be approved by Cabinet. And the Cabinet meeting that we were scheduled for on the end of February actually was the same day that the local government elections were scheduled to be held. So we didn't get the Cabinet approval at that time. So we had to move into the next action planning cycle, which would have run from June 2024 to June 2026. So we did more consultations, submitted the action plan to Cabinet in July 2024, resubmitted it in September 2024 with additional information, including letters of support from all implementing entities, mainly ministries, and that second action plan, OGP National Action Plan, was approved by Cabinet in October 2024 and submitted to the OGP in December 2024. So that's basically where we are now. Just to highlight the degree of stakeholder consultation that goes into the action planning process. You'll see there are 5 different stakeholder consultation groups for natural resources, environment and climate, open data, justice and human rights, access to information, and youth. And you'll see the schedule of meetings that were held. These are online meetings that were held. And I can say that there are quite a few persons right here in this audience who were invited to and participated in some of these meetings. This presents on screen at a glance an overview of the commitments in the second OGP National Action Plan. So let's just go through them from top to bottom. The first commitment is to complete the National Anti-Corruption Strategy. The lead entity for that is the Integrity Commission. Now, some of these lead entities would have changed based on the most recent cabinet announcements. And we will make those modifications once the assignment of subjects and departments is promulgated by the office of the cabinet. The second is to upgrade and strengthen the open data system in Jamaica, and the lead implementing entity for that is the OPM. And you'll see that the number of milestone activities on the right-hand column coming down for each commitment. The third, amend the Access to Information Act and strengthen the ATI system in Jamaica. And the lead entity for that is, of course, the Ministry of Education, Skills, Youth, and Information. It actually has the most milestone activities, as you can see. The fourth commitment is to increase access to information on and public awareness of the justice system and human rights. And you'll see the lead entities there. There may be some adjustment there. At that time, it was the Ministry of Legal and Constitutional Affairs and the Ministry of Justice. And I just want to highlight, you notice, for example, open data, right? So again, the principles of access to information is in that commitment. ATI, the entire focus of that commitment is ATI. One of the main activities under the fourth commitment was the launch of the Jamaica Legal Information Portal, which was actually launched right here in this very room earlier this year. So again, access to information. The fifth commitment is to complete environmental impact assessment, or EIA regulations. The sixth is to carry out development of climate change legislation and related activities. And the seventh is to strengthen youth participation and access to services. Again, the lead implementing entity for that is the Ministry of Education. Now, the three of the commitments I've just provided more information on the specific milestone activities. So, for example, under the commitment to amend the Access to Information Act and strengthen the ATI system in Jamaica, for which the lead ministry is the Ministry of Education, Skills, Youth, and Information. Some of the specific milestone activities are to establish the Access to Information Act Advisory Committee, and then there are steps listed there which were proposed at the time for the amendment of the ATI Act, which, as you heard, was passed in 2002. So it really is due for review. That review was done, in fact, and some recommendations made in 2011. And the idea under this commitment is to continue that process, which would eventually bring a draft bill, eventually to Parliament. And then also to prepare as an ongoing improvement to the ATI system in Jamaica, prepare improved guidelines for public bodies and ATI officers, undertake capacity development and training for ATI officers, and conduct a program of public education on the ATI system and rights. Under the commitment for the environmental impact assessment regulations, the key milestone activities are to conduct stakeholder consultations on elements of the EIA regulations, prepare drafting instructions for the EIA regulations, and submit drafting instructions to the Office of the Parliamentary Council and collaborate on the finalization of the EIA regulations. I think those regulations, I believe, are under the NRCA Act. And then the final commitment I've provided more information on is to update and implement the climate change policy framework, again, starting with stakeholder consultations to prepare a concept note for the draft climate change legislation. This would be landmark legislation because it would be the first time that the provisions for climate change are embodied in actual legislation. Prepare cabinet submission on the draft legislation, and then hold further consultations leading up to the drafting instructions for the legislation, which would then go to the Office of the Parliamentary Council. And then two other commitments, two other activities relating to climate change relate to, again, stakeholder consultations and public consultations on the preparation of the draft and final nationally determined contribution under the Paris Agreement for Jamaica, and that submit that final NDC to the UNFCCC Framework Convention on Climate Change, which it certainly was intended, and I believe would still be intended, to be presented or submitted in advance of the UNFCCC Conference of the Parties, or COP30, which should be held in Brazil in November of this year. Now, finally now, to wrap up on the new multi-stakeholder forum, Cabinet approved the new membership in June of this year, with an increased membership of 14 representatives, 7 government and 7 civil society representatives. The government membership for the new multi-stakeholder forum includes the Ministry of Finance, which continues to be the lead ministry, along with representatives from 5 key ministries, departments, and agencies, including the main ministries responsible for implementing the commitments under the second OGP National Action Plan. The 7 civil society members were again selected through a process of nomination and selection designed and conducted by civil society stakeholders. So again, civil society has their autonomous role under the OGP partnership in Jamaica. And this new MSF, Multi-Stakeholder Forum, will continue to provide oversight and guidance for the process of implementation, monitoring, and reporting for the second OGP National Action Plan. And just to show you the composition, the actual composition of the multi-stakeholder forum, you'll see on screen the government members, 2 from the Ministry of Finance, including myself as the alternate to Mrs. Loris Jarrett. You see the representative from the Ministry of Legal and Constitutional Affairs, from the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, from the Office of the Prime Minister, Ms. Yannick Williams, who is the Senior Director acting in the Youth and Adolescents Division in the Ministry of Education, Skills, Youth and Information, and Mr. Damian Cox himself, Senior Director, Access to Information Unit from that ministry. They are both members of the Multi-Stakeholder Forum itself, and along with a representative from the Planning Institute of Jamaica. On screen, you'll see the representatives from civil society, Mr. Matthew McNaughton, who is the principal of Slash Roots Foundation, who was on the previous MSF, Dr. Teresa Rodriguez Moody, who is the Chief Executive Officer of the Jamaica Environment Trust, represented here. You have Ms. Danielle Archer from the National Integrity Action, Ingrid Parchment, Ms. Ingrid Parchment, Executive Director, Caribbean Coastal Area Management Foundation, Shaniel Allen, Policy and Advocacy Coordinator, Jamaica Youth Advocacy Network, Renee Roper from Beyond Legal, and Mr. Michael Munnings, founder and CEO of Chatflow Limited. So a very strong representation by civil society organizations, all selected through a process designed and conducted by civil society. So finally, the key next steps for the process where we are now is to conduct the monitoring of the current status of implementation of the second OGP National Action Plan and preparation of the first progress report. That will be, is actually underway now, and we hope to be able to present that first progress report to stakeholders in meetings commencing either next month or in November. And development of a communication program to include robust OGP website presence and sustained and meaningful engagement with stakeholders. And to that end, being here at this conference and making this presentation is certainly a step in that direction. So I want to thank you very much for the time and the opportunity to make this presentation. I will be here during the rest of the day, so I don't know if there are any questions that may arise on the OGP. Hopefully I'll be able to provide more information if necessary. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Richard Lumsden, Director, Economic Reform Monitoring Unit, Ministry of Finance and the Public Service, who presented on the Open Government Partnership process. So we are now at coffee break. So you are to return at 11 a.m., where we'll go into the second part of the program. The first panel discussion on the importance of access to environmental information for decision-making for and advocacy and decision-making in environmental matters. So you may proceed to lunch. Remember, the tabletop displays, coffee break. Yes, you know what's on my mind. So you're now at coffee break. We return at 11 a.m. Thank you.
All the places he would not, and some he never knew would get you high. Nothing is forbidden when we touch.